Hey, how's it going? It's Chris. Today I'm going to do something a little different. So I'm going to be actually working on a website for my wife. She's starting a blog website about her journey as somebody who absolutely would have never in a million years thought about trying CrossFit, and then tried it out and now loves it totally. So she's going to be writing some stuff about that, and she figured, hey, why not give a website project to my husband? So that's where I'm at, and I thought it might be cool to show everybody how this process works from start to finish. So just starting totally from scratch with an idea and taking that idea and designing it out. So over the course of the next couple of videos, I'm going to go over things like um, how to set up a repo on GitHub, how to deal with domain names. So I'm going to be using something called Namecheap, but you can apply what you learned there to GoDaddy or whatever else. We're going to be hosting on Netlify. We're going to learn how to create pages automatically with Markdown. We're going to use styled components, and being a blog lends itself naturally to Gatsby, so I'm going to be using Gatsby for this project, and hopefully along the way you'll be able to pick up some stuff here and there. But when I was first starting out, I thought it'd be cool to be able to see somebody working on a project from start to finish instead of like little bits and pieces. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to be doing my best to keep each of these videos to about 20 minutes. And each time I move forward in the project, then I'll post a new video so you can see the progress and kind of follow along with me. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've got VS Code open. I've got my browser, and I'm gonna first install the CLI for Gatsby. So I'm gonna do npm install Gatsby-CLI. So I actually already have this installed here, so this should be pretty quick, although maybe not. But this is just what allows you in your terminal to spin up Gatsby Pro. Oh, this is why. I'm going to Control-C out of that because I need to install it globally. So npm install -g Gatsby CLI. So I want to install that across the board globally. And to stop that, I just hit Control-C. You can also hit the little garbage can there. All right, so cool. So that's good to go. So now what I'm going to do is type in Gatsby new, and then we're going to say CrossFit for the rest. You can call it whatever you want. CrossFit for the rest of us is what my wife's blog is going to be titled. So that's what I'm calling the project. So this will get everything going for us. And now I'm going to change directories into that. So cd CrossFit, and I'm just going to hit tab, CrossFit for the rest. So it'll auto-complete for you. So I'll cd, and then I'm going to code dot, and that'll open it up in a new window. If that shortcut doesn't work for you, if you just Command Shift P on a Mac, install, and then like you should see something for install path or install code as a path. You should be able to find that there. Otherwise, you can just do file open folder. All right, so here we are. This is the boilerplate that we get with the Gatsby starter default. So we are going to be using Markdown for our blog post, but we can get into that in a little bit. Let's go ahead and crack open the Gatsby config here. And we can start messing around with some of this metadata already. So you can change the title. I'm going to say CrossFit for the rest of us. You can put whatever you want there. And then description will be a blog about the adventures of an anti-crossfitter turned crossfitter. And then the author, you can switch this up if you want. I'm putting my Twitter handle, DeSilvaDev. And these are some of the, or these are the plugins that come pre-installed with the default starter here. So React Helmet, that's going to help us with SEO. So I'll show you that in a little bit, but it's going to handle these meta tags for us. Gatsby source file system helps us to locate different files that we need. In this case, images from a relative path. So you don't need to like explicitly do like the // images / whatever.jpg. This will help Gatsby locate your images in the images folder here, which is super helpful. Transformer Sharp and Plugin Sharp are for image processing, and then this manifest here. This is where you can set some of the theming. These background and theme colors you can adjust for how they show up, like on mobile, if you can see their tab colors, and then this is where you can adjust the favicon. So I'm going to go ahead and run Gatsby develop. And if you look in our package.json, where I'm getting Gatsby develop is under these scripts. Right here, Gatsby develop, and that's just going to start up a development server for us to use when we're building things out. And Gatsby's great. One of the many reasons that it's great is it's got hot reloading, which I'll show you here in a second. So if I go to localhost 8000, there's our site, and you can see that the title has already been populated, which is nice, and that's coming from our title here. So let's dig in a little bit, and we're going to go into our source directory here and look at SEO. So the SEO component helps with search engine optimization. And you can see right here, there's some weird stuff going on. So this is GraphQL, which is a data layer that that Gatsby uses to write queries to manage data. And so what we're doing here is we're actually we're making a call to the site metadata from our Gatsby config here. And so that's pulling in our title, description, and author. Title, description, and author. And then we're using that helmet to then, this is like popping in all of those meta tags at the top of like in the head of like an HTML file. So this is populating, you know, like your title and your author, meta description from up here. So right out of the gate, like you don't have to do any adjustment here. This already sets you up with some pretty nice SEO out of the box. And then what happens is in your layout, or excuse me, not in your layout, in your pages, you'll be able to add that SEO and then adjust your title. So if you can see here, we're on our index page and it says home. If you see the tab, it's got whatever the name of the page is and then the title of the site, which is pretty cool. So if I change this to about, you can see that changed to about. So pretty helpful little tool there. So going back into our layout, right now it's got it's kind of scattered throughout this default starter. We've got just inline styling, which is fine to get things up and running, but it's not something that you're going to want to use moving forward. So I'm actually going to get rid of this. That styling there, and it's going to take away that padding and margin or whatever was there. So all we've got right now, we've got a fragment so that we're not getting I think they designed this so we're not just adding an extra div, but making sure that adjacent elements are wrapped in a parent wrapper. So we've got our header, which points to this file in our components, which I'll come back to in a second. And then we've got our div with a main tag that will wrap around all of our children, and then a footer. So what's going on here in our layout? This is a component that is designed to wrap all of the pages in your website. So if we look again at index.js, you can see that it's not wrapped with a div, it's actually wrapped with this layout component. And what that does is it ensures consistency throughout your website. So if I have, let's say, for example, I'm going to just create a page. So let's do this real quick. So I'm going to right-click on Pages. I'm going to do New File, say about.js. Now I've got a blank file here. I have a VS Code extension. It's like let me check it out real quick. ES7 React Redux, whatever, all this thing. So it gives me these shortcuts, which are nice. So if I do RAFCE and then tab, it generates this functional component for me, which is nice. So I'm going to switch this to capital About. And now let's say H1 About page. Now if I go to localhost 8000/about, now I've got my About page. So that's pretty nice. But you notice that this purple banner thing and the footer disappear if I go to About. So what I can do instead is, instead of wrapping this with a div, I can wrap it in layout and then import layout from /components/layout. And there it is. So CrossFit for the rest of us, and then that footer. And if I go back, there it is. Again, I mentioned that SEO component as well. So just a real quick SEO, I'm going to tab to auto import it. And then I can say title equals about. And now if I go back to About, notice the tab switches to About and back to Home. So again, another great use of that component. All right, so that's some like kind of basic little crash and burn intro to Gatsby's functionality. With this website that I'm making, I'll show you some ways to kind of make it fine for multiple pages. This project is actually not going to require like about or contact pages, but I'll show you some things to get those going along the way. So going back to our layout, I mentioned that I was getting rid of that CSS. Instead, what we're going to do, I'm going to Control C, and we're going to use styled components. So if you've never heard of styled components, they're kind of a mixture of JavaScript and CSS. At first, they look a little intimidating, but once you get some practice with them, they're actually really cool, and they look like, aside from a few syntax things, they actually look pretty. You write them pretty similarly to what you do with CSS. So we're going to install a couple of things. Let's go ahead and do yarn add Gatsby plugin styled components. Then styled components itself. And then Babel plugin styled components. Let me just check I didn't mistype anything or do like one of those Gatsby plugin styled components, Babel plugin. Cool. So I'll let that run there. Cool. All right, so we're good there. And now I can start the server back up. And cool, there we go. All right, so everything's still good here. So we're gonna design this layout so that the footer sticks to the bottom, and that'll probably be where we end up. So we'll wrap up the layout and then probably cut it off because we're getting close to the 20-minute mark here already. So let's go ahead and import styled from styled components. We are going to make a page container. So we'll do this outside of the layout. So we'll do const page container equals styled.div. So this part all looks weird, but now the rest of everything inside of it looks just like CSS. So we're going to do display flex direction column and min height of 100% of the viewport height. We're then going to make a child container, which is another styled div with a flex grow property of 1. We'll give it a margin top, and we can play around with this. We want the margin. So what this is going to do, we want the margin of the content to be whatever the height of this header is. So let's take a look. The header says margin bottom 145. All right, let me inspect it real quick. So I just hit this little highlighter arrow thing, and it looks like it is. So it's the whole thing looks to be about 97 pixels high. So I can do margin top 97 pixels to make sure that my children aren't overlapped by this banner for now. And that should be good. And now at the bottom, what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this div here with my page container. So that's like my whole big wrapper. And then what I'm going to do, let me close the inspector, is instead of this main tag, I'm going to, oh, this needs to be outside the header. Let's see, there we go. So with this, I can actually get rid of the fragments. And now replace this main with my child container. So notice now how the footer is stuck to the bottom. This child element here, all child is just anything that the layout is wrapping. So layout is wrapping all of this content. So this stuff is what children is representing. Same thing with the about page that we created. All of this is the what's described as children here. So now that that is set up, Let's see. Going back to layout, header. We're gonna do one more thing just to get it out of the way, and we're gonna make a couple of one utility. So in my source, I'm gonna click on source, new folder, and do utils, and I'm going to do a new file, and I'm gonna call it theme.js. And what I'm doing here is I'm making a theme for styled components to use. So export const theme. And this is nice for like setting colors for like as variables. So let's do like, let's see what this random string gets us. So if I go to, all right, so this kind of like peach color. We'll probably change that later, but so that's fine. So what we're gonna do while we're still working on the layout is we want to provide that theme to all of the components, which we are going to use a little bit later. So we can import that theme from /utils/theme. And the reason this is in curly brackets and like header, for example, is not, header is exported as a default. So that's the only thing that can be exported from this file. Whereas theme is a const. And so I could have multiple exports from this file. It's a named export. And so you wrapped named exports in curly brackets. So the last thing that we want to do to be able to pass this theme into our components is we need something from styled components called theme provider. So after styled, we're going to put a comma and then curly brackets and do theme provider. And then this is actually going to wrap the whole thing here. So I'm going to cut this, do theme provider, and then paste everything back and hit save. And then, so notice that I get this error, theme prop is required. So what I'm going to do is provided that theme. So I'll say theme equals, and it's just going to equal this theme here that I exported. And now if I refresh that, we're good. Cool. So we are past the 20-minute mark for now. I don't want to give too much too soon. This video was a lot of setup. Moving forward, it'll be a lot more actual like layout and design and everything like that. But we had to get some of the setup stuff out of the way first. So I'll be continuing to record my progress as we go along, and hope that you follow along with me and can build off of what I'm doing. But I'll continue to post these videos as progress is made, and I'll hope to see you next time. So thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you on the next one.